everyone. I would love to welcome you. I have a very special guest with me today. We're going to be talking about some very important stuff. And so I will go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gagan, and I've been a teacher for 10 to 15 years and a yoga teacher as well. Recently, I've transitioned to coaching women who are going through anxiety and stress. As I have gone through anxiety and stress from my own experience, how I have suffered and how I dealt with it has helped me transitioning into coaching women who are going through anxiety and stress.
Yeah, that's isn't it? I find it so interesting. A lot of the times the stuff that we go through kind of turns into our purpose, into helping others overcome the same struggles that we've gone through.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So is that the reason why you started your coaching business with that, or is there another reason?
No, it's the same reason you have mentioned that, yeah, sometimes whatever we have gone through our life, right, as an experience, what we have dealt with our own life, whatever struggles we have been going through, it kind of becomes your purpose after you, because you want to help other women who are going through this, the same struggles you have been through, and they can actually approach life in a better way.
Yeah.
Yes.
How was that affecting you in your personal life? Like what was going on?
Well, sometimes actually you don't even know you're going through anxiety and stress, right? It's just you're following the same patterns in your life as you were a kid. Some things happened that time in your life, and you follow some patterns to keep yourself secure and safe, and then you keep on following the same patterns, right? It's until I think it's a long story, but I don't want to bring it up. But I would say stress and anxiety actually come every day in our life, right? It's like an everyday kind of stress. We can't go through a day without stress. We have some kind of stress in our life, but the way we deal with it is actually more important. I think we all have. You might have stress and anxiety in your life, and it's different triggers for different people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people might have social anxiety. For me, it was actually social anxiety. I was a very shy and introvert kid life, and I was always like very intrigued by other people who will make friends right away, and like, why can't I do this, right? So social anxiety for me, always feeling shy to talk to somebody. But then just accepting yourself, I think it is a big deal, and you don't even know at that time. But now, as I am going through my life, I just think just accepting who you are and then working on it. It's a great thing. That's what you can do. Sometimes we don't even accept our struggles, right? It's like we just want to ignore it, and we just don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And we find another route, escape, so that we don't have to deal with it, right? So I think that is so important. But would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I believe that too. And you know, what you said right there is a lot of times we don't want to deal with it, and that's when, you know, people start looking for other things to kind of try to fulfill that. But when in reality they're not addressing the root cause, so it's not really solving the problem, and then everything comes back to you as soon as, you know, you get that temporary fix.
That's right.
Yeah. So you mentioned, you know, sometimes we don't know that we're going through stress and anxiety. It's kind of just become our normal way of living. What are some things that, if you don't know that you're going through it, what are some things some signs or some symptoms of stress and anxiety? Like if people don't know if they're going through it, what are some things that
mostly
behaviors?
It's like, feeling overwhelmed, right? You have too much on your plate, and you're like, I don't know what to do, right? And that kind of triggers that anxiety. Sometimes you don't want to say no to other people, right? So we're people pleasers. We don't want to say no to other people, so that even if it's at the expense of our own health. So I would say, not saying no to other people, getting overwhelmed because there's so much to do, and not setting boundaries, I would say. So those are some of the things that actually brings that anxiety and stress. We are always saying yes to everybody. Okay, I'll do this for you. And won't say no, right? And we don't set boundaries enough. And even if we set boundaries, we don't mention that enough to other people. We just say it once and we'll just think, oh, they know now what my boundaries are. But people don't care, right? You have to remind them again and again, no, this is the thing, and I have to do this way. So I think, mostly not saying no to other people, not setting those boundaries, and not keeping your priorities in front of you, right? Most of them get distracted. We're just like, okay, you know what, I'll do this for this person, and I'll do something that's important for me after. So, and that kind of goes to the back shelf there, and we're constantly thinking it's giving us anxiety. We want to do those certain things, but we kind of ignore it and say, okay, no, you know what, I'm going to help my friend first, or my family first, or my kids first, and then I'll think about my things, what are my priorities after. So I think those things are really important to figure out. What are your priorities, what you want to focus on.
Yeah. And with what you're saying, I feel like, when you say yes to other people, when you're afraid to say no to them, you're actually saying no to yourself. And so you're putting their needs before yours. And so that, there's consequences that come with that, because you're saying yes to them, but you're not really wanting to. So that's huge. And what do you see that people struggle with the most when it comes to dealing with anxiety and stress?
I think it's the same reason what I told you. What they feel, I think the difficult part is just saying yes to themselves, right? What are the things they need to work on? Because if you're saying yes to everybody, that means there are certain things you don't want to do, but you're still doing it just for them. And that kind of, there's certain things you need some time for yourself, for your self-care, for self-love. If you're not giving that time to yourself and you're always occupied with one thing, the other, of course, the stress and anxiety is going to come up in your life, right? So you have to figure out a way where you're doing enough. You can say, I'm not saying you don't have to say no to all the people all the time, but you have to just figure out when you are supposed to be saying no, like when you can say no and when you can say yes, right? So it's just like just figuring that out is more important. Yeah, you don't have to say no to all the people, but just putting that, like, in a day, are you able to do that much stuff, or you can't? So kind of just differentiating that, right? What is more important right now? Then is it more important than your health, or is it more important than your own sanity, more important than your own I would say your boundaries, right? So you have to figure that out, and once you start figuring that out, it starts getting, I would say, better.
And with the whole boundaries, earlier you were talking about how you have to sometimes remind people. And I think it's really important that when you do set your boundaries, you also enforce them as well, and you don't let them slip, because that's when things can get bad if you're not enforcing your boundary, and just kind of, giving warnings every time and just not really doing anything about it. I think that's
mostly with your close family, right? They won't understand your boundaries. Even if you tell them like 100 times, they will still, it's okay, you can do this for me.
Like,
I told you I'm busy, right? I can't do this. But they just think that, they just take, I would say they just think that your family or your friends, they're always available for you. You should always say yes to them, whatever happens. But
I think that's the hardest. And I think a lot of people will struggle with that. Just, not having to kind of like get resentment from their behaviors, and wanting to always say yes to them, because we love our family, and a lot of the times, you think, well, they're my family, they need me, and
I know.
But it's super important to have those
and feeling
boundaries.
guilty, right? Feeling guilty for saying no.
Yes.
And it still happens to me, right? If I say no, I still feel, okay, maybe I should have done this. And it's just because, you know what? I know we all go through this. Even if I am coaching or I am telling women, but you yourself also go through the same things.
Yeah.
Then you have to remind yourself, no, this is not, I'm not going to do this. Yes. Not feeling guilty. Because that's how I've been trained, like saying yes and people pleasing. And if you say no, then you feel the guilt. Okay, why did I say no? Now that person's going to feel like different about me, right? So, yeah. So many factors account in. I think, yeah, it is so important to not feel guilty. Keep saying no, keep reminding them of your boundaries. Yeah, you have to be very persistent and consistent in doing.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that also comes from, you know, like how you mentioned earlier, when you were a child and how you grew up. And because I know, especially like in my family, my mom especially, she would make me say yes to almost everything. And I was just conditioned to always be so nice.
Yes.
And just say, you know, yes to everybody. So it was a major shift when I just really started setting boundaries, and you know, people will react a certain way when you start doing that as well, because they're not used to that. And they're used to getting everything they want.
That's right. And I think for us as women, we are always trained that we have to sacrifice everything for other people in our life. Like you should take care of everybody else except yourself. So that, mind shift change for me as well. It was after so many years, I thought, no, you know what, I have to take care of myself. I have to set my boundaries, because it was taking me to, I was getting anxious and I was getting into depression as well, right? So it's so related, anxiety, depression, they kind of coexist, right? If we don't take care of it, it does, it's not good, I would say.
Yeah, most definitely. So do you see that, you know, some people, stress and anxiety kind of go hand in hand. Do you see some people that struggle with stress and then not anxiety, or the other way around?
Yeah, it could be. It could be just a normal stress in our life, right? It could, that could turn into anxiety, because if you're not taking care of that, it could turn into anxiety or anxiety. It's kind of correlated, as you say, it goes hand in hand, right? So if you're not taking care of it, stress could trigger that anxiety, right? Or anxiety can trigger stress. So it's kind of either or kind of relationship, I would say, right? So if you're not taking care of yourself and you're stressed, and it could start giving you, it could be panic attacks or anxiety attacks, right? It could start going into those, that's not good for your health, of course. Yeah. So they go in hand. But taking care of yourself, I would say, is so important. Yeah.
What are some things that you've either seen or know that what happens if people don't start taking care of themselves and the stress? I know you mentioned, you know, it can lead all the way up to depression. But are there other things that you see?
I think if you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to take time. For myself, I would say it took me a long time to realize what I'm going through and then work on it, because it kind of becomes your normal day. Okay, I'm feeling this way. I'm just going to lay down. I don't feel like doing anything today. So that's it. I'm not going to do anything. Right. So it becomes like a normal part of your day. Right. But eventually, when you start realizing, no, this is not my life. I don't want to live like this, right? I don't want to be on my bed all day, or I don't want to say, I don't want to do things. I want to do things. I want to do it happily, and I want to do it joyfully. So I think it's just important. Sometimes you don't even know, and sometimes you keep on taking it for so many years. But there's so many things you can. I didn't ask for help or support because I thought I can figure it myself, right? I think that's also such a big, because when we think, I know how to deal with it, I can handle it, but it just takes so long. If you're not asking for help, or if you're not asking for support, it takes forever to figure out, right? And sometimes you don't even figure out because it becomes a normal part of your life.
Right.
So I think asking for help, it could be anybody, a therapist, a coach, right? Or your family. Well, family or friend can give you advice, but going to a professional, of course, it makes it whatever you achieve in 10 years, right? You would approach, like, you can get better in 6 months or 1 year,
yeah.
right? So you can kind of reduce the time frame when you go and ask for help, or if you ask a coach or you ask a therapist, right? So it becomes more easier for you because there's somebody who you can talk to and who can hold you accountable for the things you're doing and tell you, okay, no, you have to break this pattern. You're not doing this, or you should do this, right? So kind of giving you some substitute or alterations that you can work on. So I think it becomes really easier when you're working with a coach.
And a lot of times, the people that we ask, like our friends and family, they know what you've told them, but their answers can be very biased too.
Yeah.
So, sometimes they have a hard time telling you what you need to hear, and they'll tell you what you want to hear. And so it's not very productive to do that.
Yes. And they would tell you from their experience, because your situation and their situation could be different. Maybe they have experienced something, but it can be related to what you're going through, right? So it could be based on their experience, which might not be relevant to your situation right now. So, but as a coach, you are a coach as well, right? And I'm sure you agree that with a coach, it's kind of your personal, whatever you go through, it's based on your personal experience, right? What you're going through. So the coaching is dependent on what you're going through. It's not like a one answer for everybody.
A one size fits all. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be based on what you're experiencing through right now. Yeah.
Exactly. Because even with that, like, I feel like people, they can read books, they can look for answers, but then when it comes to applying it to their life, they have a hard time with that. And so sometimes, you can read something and think, okay, like, this is what I need to do, but then you don't know how to do it and how to apply it to yourself. And so when you say it'll take you longer, like, that's I feel like that's one of the reasons, is because you're not getting that personalized help that you need. And so I feel like a lot of times we tend to, I've done it in the past where I take something out of context and I apply it to myself, but I did it totally wrong. And so that doesn't even help me at all. And so, I think that's like super important to realize that, that one-on-one help is designed specifically for you and for what you're going through. And as a coach, like you said, we come up with a plan specifically for you and what you're going through to get you to where where you want to be.
Yeah, that's correct. Definitely agree with that. Yes. And I myself have so many self-help books, I would say, but I read it and I forget it, because you know what, you get to your same routine and everything, you read it, okay, this is interesting, I should do it, and then you forget. And there's nobody who is going to say, okay, do this, right? You have to, at least a coach or somebody, whoever you can ask for help, is there for you to ask, are you doing these things? Right? So just to be accountable, you need somebody, and it makes the process so much easier and faster than doing it on yourself, right? Because life happens, you're busy, you get busy, and then you just forget about what you have to do. At least when you are with a coach, they tell you what to do. They can make a plan. Yeah, personalized plan. Definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that accountability part, I feel like, is huge, because I mean, how many times have we started something and then not finished it?
Yeah,
and you
yes.
Like everyone. And so it's just so much easier, when you have that person that their job is literally to make you succeed. And so they're going to do what they need to do to, get rid of that stress and anxiety or whatever it is that, you're dealing with.
I know. Totally agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else that you would like to share relating to that?
I would just say, ask for help, go approach a coach, and you know what, it'll make your life easier, and it'll make your you'll get results faster. And it's really, I think it's really important, just by, if you're just working on yourself all your life and you're not getting any results, I think it's better to approach somebody and ask for help no matter what happens, right? Don't just think that I'm going to figure it out eventually, right? It's going to happen eventually. Nothing is going to eventually happen if you don't work on it, right?
Exactly.
And yeah,
I feel like a lot of times, too, people are kind of afraid to ask for help.
yes,
Because asking for help, I feel like it's getting a little bit more normalized to go to a therapist and to get help.
yeah,
But before, it's like if you were going to a therapist and people heard about it, they'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like it used to be viewed differently as it is
yes,
now. And I feel like now people are starting to realize that your mental health is actually important. And so,
yes, definitely.
so yeah, I feel like maybe like what advice would you give to somebody who's afraid to ask for help, maybe because
Mhm.
whatever it may be, the
Yeah.
stigma, or if they
Mhm.
just don't really feel comfortable asking for help? What advice would you give for
I would
someone like
say,
that?
I know it's not comfortable, but you should still, just ask for help because you don't know, right? You don't
Yeah.
feel that, because most of times you feel that shame, or what are people going to think about me if I go to a therapist, or I'm going to a coach to get figured out, all these things you're not able to figure out yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
it is important. I know it's not comfortable, but
Yeah.
you know what? Just do it anyways, because you will find results which you're not getting by working on yourself, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
by reading self-help books, or just by thinking it's going to get better eventually. Just get uncomfortable and ask for help. You know what? It's worth it. So I would say just do it. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, and I think it with that, I feel like it's more courageous for you
Yeah.
to go and ask for help.
And yes.
Because, you are getting out of your comfort zone. You are going to somebody to say, "Hey, I have this problem. I need help."
Mhm.
And to me, that's like you are taking responsibility for yourself and you
Yes.
are wanting to better your life. And so, I am always so proud of people when they come to me and they say, "Hey, I have this going on," because it's not easy. It's not
Yes.
easy for you to go to somebody and say, "This is what I'm struggling with." And so I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? And
Yes.
so it takes a lot of courage for you to go to somebody and say, "Hey, I need help with this."
Mhm. Yeah. And that is the first step, I guess, coming out of your comfort zone, asking for help. So
Yeah.
what you should be just proud of yourself that you are taking that step towards your own health, right? If you're not taking care of your own health, how are you going to take care of your family and your,
Exactly.
kids? It becomes very hard. So
Yeah.
if you're taking care of your mental health, your health in general, you know what? It's going to show up in your family. You're going to be more happy and you're going to be more joyful doing all the things with your
Mhm.
family. So I think it's just take the first step and just ask for help. And Gabby, you're a life coach. And what do you think? What kind of clients do you get? What kind of topics do you address the
So
most?
it's really interesting. I get all sorts of I get all sorts of inquiries.
Yeah.
Um, and I I love hearing people's stories
Mhm.
because you just never know what people are going through, right? And so I love to hear when people tell me what they're going through. I love to hear that because um and I have compassion for them. I empathize with them.
Mhm.
But what I love to do when I hear those stories is I like to visualize what is possible for them. So seeing that someone is struggling with something right now and just um you know seeing all the possibilities of what they could be doing and where they could be if they get the help, that's one of like my most favorite parts is just kind of seeing where they are and then seeing where they could be.
Mhm.
And when they actually start going through it, all the changes that people make and what happens in their life, I just feel like it's just like you said, it affects not just you, it affects your family, it affects you at work, it affects you, if you have kids with your kids,
Yeah.
and just showing up as your best
So,
self, it's going to improve every aspect of your life.
That's right. I also want to bring one more point. And sometimes when people talk, they're actually, if you agree, if you get some kind of increase, and sometimes they focus on something, but actually they need help in some other area, right? Sometimes they'll say, okay, I want help in this area. But when you listen to them and when you kind of approach that, and then you kind of pinpoint and say, you know what, I think you need help in this area as well, right? So sometimes people don't even know what they need help in, right? They will tell you, okay, they are going through this. But then as a coach, you can pinpoint, okay, you know what, I think you should work on this first and let's go from there. So yeah, so working, I think as Gabby is a life coach, so I'm sure she gets a lot of inquiries about different topics of life, right? So
yeah. And yeah, what you said is so true. A lot of the times we feel like we need something when it's actually something else that we need.
Yeah.
And you won't uncover that because your brain is so stuck on, this is what I need, this is what I have to do. But it goes back to that, you're not addressing the root cause of, and that's what, having a coach can help you see those things and can help you see where your blind spots are, because once our brain is focused on one thing, that's what it's going to focus on, and that's what it's going to see and look for evidence for that belief that you have. And so it's really important to have somebody to dive deep and go through and see exactly what it is that you need. Great point with that. Do you find that because sometimes I think that maybe somebody is just scared to ask for help because they feel like they're going to be judged.
Yes.
And in my experience, at least, I had, through this whole coaching process, like that's one of the things that I learned is, I know that the reason why you're going through these problems is because something happened in your life that, has gotten you to where you are now. So for me, I have really changed my relationship with judgment because instead of the judging, I see where it's coming from, right? And so I have a lot of compassion for these people because it's coming from a place of sometimes pain, hurt. There's other things that cause you to be where you are. So for me, it's like there's no judgment at all. You could be where you are right now, but I don't find myself judging people because of what they're doing, even if you're the one that's lashing out with anger and all of that. Like there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason for you having that behavior. So it doesn't come from a place of judgment. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you know what, judging, because definitely as a coach, we are not going to approach as an individual, right? It's always about how you're going through or what you're going through, right? We can't really judge. But as a human being also, right? We don't know what the other person is going through. If I just talk to somebody and they're going through something and they're lashing out or they're being angry, right? That means there is certain some root cause that's telling them to do that stuff, right? It's not just because of me, but it's something internally going on in their system that kind of make them feel or make them believe they can't trust other people, or there's something going on. And not judging. I'm sure we don't need to judge anybody, but just kind of sensing what's going on and kind of work through it. I think you made a great point. Yes. Not judging, and mostly we're scared to tell our family and friends because we know they're going to judge us. If I tell I'm going through this, and it's going to be okay, you know what, don't worry about it. Most of the time it's kind of okay, you're going to be fine. But when you approach a professional, a coach or a therapist, right, they're going to listen to your story and then kind of tell you where you're going without any judgment or without any not giving an advice, just based on, as you say, one it's not like a one, what was the word? Just forgot.
One size fits all.
One size fits all. Yes. Yeah. There's something based on your story, based on your struggles, not just one answer to all the problems. It's not like that. So I completely agree with you, Gabby, on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, if there is someone who is struggling with stress and anxiety and would like some help, how can they find you? How can they reach out?
Well, I have my Instagram account at Gagan Kang official. Maybe we can just post it out, or both our
Yes,
accounts,
I
and
will go ahead and put it on
yeah,
there.
and then you can approach me. You can ask me questions. Just asking question doesn't cost anything. So you know what? Just DM me if you're going through anxiety or stress, and you're finding it hard to do it all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk and just let's see if we can work with each other or not, right? So it's always
Yes.
we have to find that if we kind of resonate, or we have that vibe, we can work together and knowing each other, right? So a little bit more about each other. So once we talk, we get to know each other, and then we can go from there. And how about you,
Yeah.
Gabby? Where can people
I
find you?
love Yeah, so I love that you said that because, I'm the same way, and we have to talk to the person needing help first to see
Yeah.
if we can help them and
Yes.
how we can help them.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sure you are the same way that, if we feel like we can't help them, we will be
Yes.
completely honest
Honest.
and tell
Yes.
them,
Yeah.
I can't help you, but we'd be happy to look for resources for them as
Yes.
well, right?
Yeah. We can
So
point them to a different direction where they can get help. So it's not like you just start talking to us and we'll just say, no, we can work with you. It's not going to be like an instant. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to see if we can even work with each other. Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to also add my Instagram. You can always send me a message. I'll also put my email on here. Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
loved
for
having this conversation.